Okay, finally, I want to deal with some of the societal issues. People often say these things. They say, oh dear, where will we put all the people? And they say, will this only be for rich people? And they say, won't dictators live forever? And they say, well, won't it be boring? And so on. And, these are reasonable questions to ask. I'm fine with people asking these questions. The problem is how people respond to the answers. I spent a lot of my time answering these questions, and sometimes I become quite frustrated because it's very clear that people do not want to be reassured. They do not want to hear that actually these things won't happen, or even that maybe they'll happen, but the problem will not be nearly so bad as the problem we have today. The thing is, it's really easy to give those answers. Boredom. Somebody said about a year ago when I was on stage with them, he said, well, look, if I've got the choice between getting Alzheimer's disease at age 80 or being bored at age 150, I think I'm going to choose being bored. Thank you. And, that's the way that people ought to think about this, but they don't. They really don't want to hear good answers to this. And that really has to change. It all comes back to the psychology I was mentioning earlier. Of course, there is also a very clear moral answer to all of these questions, which is to do with who is entitled to make this choice. If we say, oh dear, we've got all these problems that we might create as a side effect of solving the problem we have today, so let's not solve the problem we have today, let's just not work on aging, then what we will do, eventually these therapies will come, but we will delay the point at which they come. And that means that lots of people will have to suffer from aging and they will die as a result of our decision. And that makes no sense, because those people might have already realized that these problems are not really problems, or that they are not big enough to matter, and they may want access to these therapies. And they won't have access because the therapies will not exist yet, because we, in the years previously, had decided not to work as hard on them as we could have done. So we would be condemning a huge number of people to an unnecessary amount of suffering and death. And that is morally indefensible. We have no entitlement to do that. So this is not the way that we should be thinking. This is the way that we should be thinking about a post-aging world. A world in which nobody has Alzheimer's disease. I mean, nobody. Nobody has heart disease. Nobody has cancer. This is a pretty different world. And all of these people who don't have these diseases, they don't have the things that people call aging itself. So they are still functioning mentally and physically really well, like a young adult, and they can continue to contribute wealth to society, which means that everybody will be much more prosperous.